All right, Tim, thank you so much for joining me once again for this episode. This will be really fun. Today's topic is going to be Europe, specifically this album, Prisoners in Paradise. I think this is a very underrated album. I think this is really, really solid, good album that didn't get the promotion and the attention that it deserved because I think this is just a really solid, great album. Maybe it was a bit too late because this is a 91 album. If this was released like in maybe 1990 or 89 and got the promotion it deserved, I think this would have sold pretty well. But again, the final countdown sold like over 10 million or something. You probably know the exact number because you
I,
know
I don't
most
off the top of my head, but I know it was big.
you usually know these things, so
Yeah,
I just
sorry, I'm
guess
not.
you.
I don't have great.
Yeah. And Out of This World sold like 2 million or
Yeah,
something.
sold 1 million in the States, so they had two platinum albums in the U.S. in a row. So
Yeah.
that's why it's even more surprising that they just this one just nosedive. But I think you're right. I think timing has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. So Out of This World, in comparison to Final Countdown, was a disappointment in some ways, even though they had a hit on it,
Yeah.
Superstitious. But this album is even a step lower, much lower than Out of This World. I don't know the exact number on this, how much is sold worldwide, but it can't be that much. So,
Well, yeah, when you don't have an album that sells a lot in the States, that's such a big population that it's going to eat into those record sales. But yeah, I think that a lot of the problem with, like, it started with Out of This World, and I think Out of This World went platinum on the momentum of being the follow-up to the Final Countdown.
that's right.
But
Yeah.
I think that one of the problems that happened there is that they didn't really tour North America that much. They opened for Def Leppard on what would have been the tail end of the Hysteria tour, which is great. That got them out in front of a lot of people, but they didn't stay in North America to continue touring. So I think a lot of people over here forgot about them. And I think, unfortunately, um, they kind of became known as a one-hit wonder. And I always have to remind people, I'm like, yeah, but you know the song Carrie, right? Oh, yeah. Well, that was a big hit too. So, as a matter of fact, that was a bigger hit chart-wise than the Final Countdown. But I mean, the Final Countdown is such a unique song used in sporting events, and just everybody thinks of the 80s, and it's so iconic. But I loved Out of This World. I thought Superstitious was a fantastic song,
Yeah, I
and
love
it,
that
it
album
was their,
too.
it
Really
was their
good.
first album with Key Marcello, um, and yeah, 88 to 91, obviously a lot changed. Even if this album had come out in early 91, I think that it may have stood a better chance. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, it either came out the same day or very close to it that Nirvana's Nevermind came out. And that scene just completely enveloped this sort of melodic hard rock music. And it just, they were, nobody wanted to even know about music like this overnight. It
Yeah.
was amazing. Like I said, to go from two platinum albums. Normally you'd have, like, say, a double platinum album, a platinum album, and maybe a gold album. But this just, it just completely tanked. I mean, I remember I read about, it had been quite a long time. I read about this in Metal Edge when it came out. They did an interview with the band, and I went out and bought it, like, when it was a brand new release, and I loved it from the beginning. But nobody else that I knew, nobody else in my school, like, I was in my senior year of high school, and I didn't, no one was talking about Europe. Like, nobody was talking about Europe anymore. It's really weird. I don't ever remember seeing videos from this album, not until YouTube, but I don't remember seeing videos back in the day. I never heard any of the songs on the radio. It was not promoted. I saw like one ad for it in one of the rock magazines, but that was it. And it's such a shame because I think that, yeah, I think it had the potential to be another big album for them. And I think the reason that it was such a failure, as far as the world was concerned, as far as North America and just those, like you said, those worldwide album sales. I think if this album had been a really big album for them, I don't think they'd have gone on hiatus for 13 years or, however long.
Yeah,
I was like,
exactly.
I think that they were like, you know what? Let's just sit out the 90s. 90s is, I think they knew the 90s is going to be rough. And I'm glad that they didn't try to do a grunge album. I'm glad
Yeah,
that they didn't do like Dawkins' Shadow Life or Warrant's Belly to Belly, or like, I'm glad they didn't do some weird experimental thing that was so unlike them. Even though this album is different for them, it's not that different, you know?
yeah,
I think a lot of it has to do with having Beau Hill produce it. It's a very American sounding album for them. Like it doesn't sound, it doesn't have much of a European feel. Then again, Out of This World, I mean, Ron Nevison produced that. That was that big production that Hart had and that Ozzy had on The Ultimate Sin, Kiss had on Crazy Nights. It's a distinctive sound that for a time was all over the radio. And unfortunately, it just didn't catch on. This, to me, sounds like a cross between maybe Europe and Winger. And I'm a huge Winger fan, so that's not a detriment. As a matter of fact, there are some connections here, but it just didn't stand a chance. When it came out, it just didn't stand a chance. And it's a shame because it's a great album and I'm more than happy to talk about it. And hopefully people will go back and check it out.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very underappreciated, this album, definitely. And yeah, I definitely hope that this video, and I think some other people have done videos on this too. I hope it really sheds a light on this album for people to check it out again if they haven't heard it in many years or they never heard it before, only are familiar with maybe Final Countdown or Out of This World. So this people should really check this out because this is like the end of an era for them too,
Yeah.
because it was the last album for like 13 years.
Yeah.
So this is 91. Start from the Dark is from 2004. So 13 years is a long time. Also, like Joey Tempest did a solo album after this, and that was way more stripped down, acoustic, very like a calm album in many ways. So it was way more 90s sounding. So I think it was a good thing that they did have this break because I think they came out stronger on the other end. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of Start of the Dark, but I think the album after Secret Society and all the other albums after that are really great.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Start from the Dark sounds like a band that just got back in the studio after an extended break. They're finding their way, a lot of down tuning on it. It's got some good songs on it, but yeah, they really started to recapture that classic sound and then build upon that with every other album. As a matter of fact, as we're filming this, I literally just pre-ordered their new album, Come This
there you are.
Madness, which isn't going to be out until September, but I'm so excited that they're back. It's been 9 years since Walk the Earth. So yeah, I pre-ordered the album this morning from their website.
Great, great. Yeah, I have not done that yet, but I will definitely do that. And yeah, I think also that album cover looks really interesting. I thought at first it looked really ugly, but because it's very different from what they've done before.
Yeah.
But I'm warming up to it. I think it's all right. And I think the first song they released is really good.
Yeah.
One on
Yeah.
One, I think it was called, right? And
One on one.
yeah,
Yeah. The
yeah, I
video's
thought
pretty
that was
cool.
really good.
Yeah. I hope they build on that buzz because yeah, their albums since reuniting they've been really, really consistently good. The trouble is, again, here we're talking about North America. None of those albums were released domestically over here, so I always have to import them in. They don't get over here to tour. It's just a shame. So yeah, it's up to the fans to spread the word that hey, you know what? Yeah, you liked them back in the day. They're still around and they're still making great music. This album cover is a bit different.
Yeah.
But it does look like a Europe album. They kept the logo. One thing I always found interesting is that they emphasize the O's in all of the song titles, but Seventh Sign is the only song on this album that doesn't have an O in it. So the rest of them, like I bought this on cassette when it first came out, and then like a year later I bought the CD, and as you can see, there's a hole punch through the barcode, so it was a markdown. And I didn't see it that much as a markdown. And then it was so unsuccessful that just in the last few years, I found this in a record store. This is a sealed copy of a Canadian cassette of
That's
Prisoners in
cool.
Paradise. So yeah, it's an album that, you know, over here is a treasure for the view. I think it did okay in Europe and like in Sweden. Like I think they had a #1 song from this album, which we'll get into, but it just people just kind of forgot about Europe. Unfortunately, I don't have this on vinyl. I got to get this on vinyl. That's one of my
Yeah.
that's one of my goals to get this one on vinyl. But yeah,
I've had 2 copies on it on vinyl because it's pretty easy to find here in Sweden, as you would think. But it's still not like super common. It's more uncommon in some ways, but it's not like super rare or anything. But it's probably like a $30 album here in Sweden, and yeah, it sounds really good on vinyl too. So
you'd probably have to double that, you know, at least for, you know, for me to get a copy of it. Yeah, there's no domestic by 91. I don't think there was any domestic copies of that album pressed. There were still some albums that they were doing over here on vinyl, but certainly not this one. I do have a piece of vinyl to talk about, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, yeah. All right, the first song, All or Nothing. I think this is a great opener, and it really it shows what mood this album is going to be in. I think it's just a great mood setter. I think it's a good first song, really great, energetic, fun song. Yeah, and I think Joey sounds really good on here too, because this was the last album in like 13 years. So the shift from this to Start from the Dark in Joey's voice is drastic.
Yeah.
So, but he really sounds like he did on the 2 previous albums. So most of the part, I bunched these 3 albums together: The Final Countdown, Out of This World, and this one. And yeah, I think it's really, really great. And as you mentioned before, we have Key Marcello on this album. This was the last one with him. He did Out of This World and this one. I think it's a great guitar player. I've not heard him from like any other bands. I'm only familiar of his playing on these 2 albums, but I think he's really great, really good. Good replacement of John Norum, even though John Norum is like amazing, like incredible guitar player. I think Key Marcello did a great job on these 2 albums, definitely.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty seamless. I mean, Key Marcello joined right when they were starting to break in the States, because you know, because John Norum's in the Final Countdown video, but by the time Rock the Night came out, oh, that's a different guitar player. Didn't miss a beat, you know, fantastic player. And you know, and that's, you know, we're just moving into the present a little bit. It's also pretty amazing that the lineup that did the Final Countdown is still Europe today. There's never been, you know, it's them and Def Leppard. You know, like since Def Leppard got Vivian, there's never been a change. Like it's about the same with Europe. Like once they reunited, that's that classic lineup. But yeah, Key did a great job. So yeah, this album was produced by Beau Hill, and one thing you'll notice right away, the drums sound very much like a Beau Hill production. They remind me a lot of the second Winger album, In the Heart of the Young. As a matter of fact, Kip Winger's brothers Nate and I think Paul sing background vocals on a lot of the songs in this album. So there's a definite Beau Hill, you know, connection. Also, this first song was written by Eric Martin, vocalist for Mr. Big. Let's see, Andrew Pessis. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but he writes with Eric a lot, and Joey Tempest. So this could have been a Mr. Big song, I think, and I like Mr. Big too. So, but with Joey singing it, it automatically makes it Europe, because Joey's got such an unmistakable voice, right? But yeah, it's a great way to start the album, and it's like, it's not like the rest of the album sounds nothing like this. This is what you're in for. This is Europe 1991. This is not the Europe of the Final Countdown. It's just really, really good. So yeah, it's off to a great start.
Yeah. And one thing we have to mention, and I mentioned it briefly in our last video, but this album was supposed to be much heavier than it is.
Yeah.
And there were some changes in the personnel in the record company and everything, and they wanted a new direction, because Europe had written a lot of songs previously. I think they mostly had the album done in the songwriting parts. and then they wanted a new direction. They new people at the record company, and they had to change it a lot. So and they had more outside songwriters, to my understanding at least. But I think they wrote mostly their own stuff before on the heavier version of this
Yeah.
album, and then they came in with more outside songwriters. And but I think it's a good result anyways. I think this is a great album, great songs, catchy songs. So I don't think that's a detriment. But album like Def Leppard's X, for example, that was not the outside writers were not a good influence on the
That's just
band, on the sound.
that is such a pop album, and it
Yeah,
didn't, and
yeah.
it failed. You know, it wasn't. Yeah, and I remember reading, I think in Hit Parader magazine, I want to say early 1990, the album I think was supposed to be called Break Free, and it was, yeah, it was, it sounded like it was all but ready. I also dug out a compilation CD that came out just before Start from the Dark came out. I had to get as an import, called Rock the Night, Very Best of Europe. It's got, let me see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there's 5 songs that were either B-sides or from the sessions. So yeah, they were, so some of those songs eventually came out, but yeah, I think that what was going on is that the record label, you know, the approach they were taking is the approach that so many bands had to do previously. But I don't think that hurt the album. I think more what hurt the album is the time it took to do that, and waited so long. But then again, I don't think anybody could have predicted that shift that would happen in music. I mean, I mean, I lived through it. It was huge, but I think it's a good album. It's, you know, you always wonder what the other album might have sounded like. Maybe someday we'll get a version of that. You know, here's what this album would have sounded like if it had come out in early 1990 or late 89 or something.
I actually looked at the songwriting credits, and yeah, Joey Tempest is actually involved in most of them. But there are some songs that are outside writers,
Yeah.
but not as much as I thought actually. So the band is pretty much involved.
He still,
in
he still has a hand in the
Yeah.
songwriting. I mean, usually, I mean, Joey wrote a lot of the songs himself. I mean, right? You know, he's usually got a sole credit.
So maybe the people at the record company maybe influenced him to go more in that direction, but he actually wrote the stuff. That's probably the way it was. But yeah, so first track, really great, awesome track, great opener. Now the next one, Halfway to Heaven. What do you think about this one?
Oh man, I think if this song had come out earlier, it would have been a huge hit. It's super catchy. It's there's a little bit of a Canadian influence on this one, because Joey Tempest wrote with Jim Vallance, who wrote with Bryan Adams for years, and you know, he wrote with Aerosmith and Kiss, and like he's one of those, you know, I hate the term song doctors, but he's just a really good songwriter and has this ability to write catchy songs. It's one of my favorite Key Marcello guitar solos. I think the solo just rips in this song. And this was a single. There is a video for it, but I know, you know, but to me, when I first heard that, I'm like, oh, that's a hit. But it wasn't.
And I also really like the guitar melody in the beginning too, and throughout the song. I think that's a really good guitar melody, and yeah, I think that there's a lot of that on this album too. So yeah, I think Halfway to Heaven, great catchy song. Yeah, I think it's just a really solid one actually. So yeah, really good. Now the next one, I think got even more like hit potential. I'll Cry for You. I think that really does have hit potential. If this album got more promotion, if it like, I don't know if that song does have a video or not. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, but I think this was a #1 song in Sweden.
All right, because I'm not too familiar with that actually. So
I think that was a huge song, and I think it's one that it's one of the only times I've heard John Norum kind of say that, because John Norum, as far as I could tell, never had any problem playing songs from you know, the 2 albums he wasn't on, but I don't think he likes this song. So I don't think they do it anymore, which kind of, if you have a #1 song, you'd kind of expect it to be played. But yeah, so I've got the single to that here, and it's an edited version. B-side is Seventh Sign. So this is obviously I think this is a UK single. Let me see. Yeah, it's a UK single. It's got the Small Hole label in it.
Yeah.
But and that's the only vinyl associated with this period that I have. But yeah, it's a great mid-tempo ballad. Again, yeah, I mean, if Halfway to Heaven had been a first single, this probably would have been the second, and they would have had two big hits, probably bigger hits than Superstitious. Because Superstitious, I think, only, I want to say it peaked at like 29 on Billboard, and I remember being disappointed in that. I'm like, what is wrong with people? This is fantastic. But again, they weren't on tour to promote it properly in North America. So, but yeah, I mean, a great song. And who wrote this one? This was the songwriting credits are small. Joey Tempest and okay, this makes sense. So Joey Tempest wrote this with Nick Graham. Now that's not a name that I see a lot, but he was one of the writers of the song "The Flame," which was a #1 song for Cheap Trick. So that's probably a record label recommendation. As a matter of fact, Cheap Trick and Europe were both on Epic, so that would make sense for somebody to say, "Hey, write with this guy, and you'll have a hit." Doesn't always mean you're going to have a hit, but yeah. So definitely there's some other influences coming in, but the band still has a hand in it. It's not like they lost. It's not like they lost all of their creative control.
Yeah, but like a song like "Halfway to Heaven" and "I'll Cry for You," like compare these to most of the songs on Final Countdown, even Out of This World. I think these types of songs are very light on this album. Compare them to like those albums, because some of the songs on the Final Countdown are heavy-ish. Like they're not heavy in like the typical way, but more than this. So like compare a song like "Love Chaser" to these two. It's darker. Like these are very light, very happy sounding songs.
Yeah.
And I think that's a theme throughout. This is like a party type happy album in many ways.
A lot of major chords, and you know, whereas like Final Countdown was a huge album, but I mean, people forget, you know, this sounds like Ninja and Danger on the Track, and you know, those were not, you know, On the Loose. Those were not pop songs per se.
No. So this album is really poppy. So,
I think the album, the idea behind this was like, let's make it so that just about every song on this could potentially be a single.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, "I'll Cry for You," really good. I loved also this guitar melody. And you have also the keyboards. So yeah, I think it's really, really great. And yeah, the chorus is like super, super catchy. And I think that's a theme throughout this album. Really, really catchy songs that get stuck in your head.
Yeah.
So
I just don't think enough people have to hear them.
Yeah. The next one, "Little Bit of Lovin'." I think this is one of my favorites. I really enjoy. I think it's a top 3 on this album. And I just love the whoa. Whoa. I just love that part in the song and in the chorus, and it's so great. This is really a sing-along song for me. I really, really enjoy it. Great song. What do you think about this?
I like it. I like it a lot. The funny thing about this song is this one is the song on this album that's always reminded me the most of Winger. But yet this song was written, like Joey wrote the lyrics and Joey and Key wrote the music. So this one's in-house, but yet with the Bow Hill production, I could hear this being on a Winger album, but yet there's no outside songwriters on this. But it's a great song. It's I you know, this could have been like a big crowd sing-along moment. You know, like I said, had there been the album sold well and there'd been a tour over here, I would think that would be a song people could very easily get into from the first time they heard it.
And I also love the part where it like breaks down and you have just Joey singing, and you have maybe he's doubled in the background, or there are the other members in the band singing, but I think it's him also in the background singing.
I think so
just
too. Yeah.
Love that part. I think it's really good, and then it really ramps up in energy, and you go into the chorus again, and it's super, super catchy. But there's one part in the song that's strange, and it comes to the mix of the album. There's like a second or two during the instrumental break where the sound, I don't remember which channel, but it kind of disappears a bit in one of the channels. And I've checked, it's present on the streaming version, it's present on this CD, so it's really strange. I don't
I'd have
know
to,
if you
I'd
ever
have to
noticed.
re-listen. I'd never noticed that, but I'd have to re-listen to it with, in
It's
headphones.
just before the breakdown, so you have the
Okay.
guitar solo and you have everything, and yeah, it's really really strange. So
I,
and it's the only part in the album
it,
that happens.
I'm just going to guess that they really liked that take. So they said, you know what, we're going to use we can't do better than this. Let's use it, even though it's got a little flaw in it. Now with Pro Tools, they could probably easily fix that.
Yeah, and I have to mention something that's also interesting about this album. This is one of the few albums ever released that does have the Q sound stamp
Yes. Yep.
back.
That's right.
And that's supposed to be a sort of surround sound thing. That was like, I don't know if this was like supposed to be surround in stereo type thing. And there's some other albums that I have that does have that. Roger Waters' Amused to Death album does have that. And that album is a very well produced album. It sounds incredible. And that album does have some sort of surround sound mix to it. I've never noticed it on this. This doesn't sound surround in any way, on my system at least. I've never noticed this on this. So I was really surprised when I saw the stamp on the back that it did say Q sound, because this just sounds like a normal stereo album to me, at least. So
yeah, I didn't really. I remember noticing that thing. I wonder what that is, because there's no. I'm just looking inside the booklet. Like sometimes when they do that, they'll have Q sound offers. They'll give a little explanation as to what it means, but there doesn't seem to be anything like that.
yeah, and on the Roger Waters album, I think it's on the first track. There's like a dog barking in the background, and it says in the booklet, if you hear like this dog barking in your right channel, and it sounds like it's next door, then you have it correctly set up. So yeah, that's interesting. But yeah,
but it's also interesting to note. I mean, I think that album, the Roger Waters album, came out in '92, and it was also on Sony. So maybe it was a Sony thing.
I don't know. Maybe it was something that they developed themselves.
Could be,
I don't know.
yeah.
But yeah. So a little bit of Lovin', great song, really good. The next one, Talk to Me, another like super catchy chorus in this too. And yeah, I think it's a great, solid song. Not one of my favorites on the album, but I think it's just a good song. What do you think about that?
I think it's an interesting placement of the song, because it's kind of like I'll Cry for You, similar tempo. It's like a mid-tempo ballad, and yet there's only one song separating the two of them. Yeah, I like it. I mean, again, like by the time I got to this point in the album, I'm like, oh, this is just good. This is just really good. And I probably listened to this for 2 months straight, and then I kind of slowly realized, hey, I haven't heard a single song off this on the radio. I haven't seen any videos. So like when you've got that media, when those turn against you and they don't help promote, you really see the difference. I mean, sometimes you can get the promotion and you still don't sell a lot of albums, but there was just nothing. Like nobody ever. It's like everybody's like, Europe. I'm playing a Europe song. It's 1991.
Yeah,
just and unfortunately back then there was no way for like fans. You buy your copy, maybe you bought the cassette and the CD. That was about all you could do to promote, and they weren't getting the magazine exposure that they would normally get. But yeah, a song like this could have been a single too, and I just don't get it.
I think that's one of the great things about internet and social media, that the bands can promote themselves. I think that's really good. They can post it on their pages. Most of the official band social medias have a lot of followers, so many people will see it. So I think that's one of the great tools and great things about the internet, that they can promote their own stuff. So I think that's just great. But yeah, Talk to Me, really good song, catchy. Just that's the theme of the whole album. Like, I can't think of one track that's not like super catchy.
Yeah, like so, you can't. Yeah, you read the title and you get the chorus in your head.
Exactly.
I know how
that's
this
a
goes.
Good sign. That's a really good sign. Speaking of sign, the next
signs.
Sign.
Yeah.
This is also one of my favorites. I love this one, and I liked the like echoed voice in the beginning. There's a voice out on the
Yeah.
wasteland, and you hear, and just super energetic when it like the drums come in and you hear Joey like singing, screaming this. Oh yeah, like it's
Yeah.
super great, and yeah, I think this is a really hard driving song, and kind of a fast one too. So I think Seven Sign is a highlight. Really good song. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. I think that it wouldn't surprise me that this was a song that survived the earliest writing sessions because it's relatively heavier. Like
Yeah,
this is like the first song on the album and the only song on side one that wouldn't, I wouldn't mark this as a single, but it's just a great song. I mean, and this song also wouldn't sound out of place on either a previous Europe album or a later one. Whereas a lot of the songs on here belong on this album. They wouldn't really fit on any other album. But yeah, this is great. I mean, I love the fact that it's a little bit different for Mick McKelly, if I'm saying his name right, on keyboards, because when it first comes in, it's like an organ sound, like an old school, almost like a John Lord, like when it comes in instead of like a straight up synthesizer sound. No, I like it. It's a great guitar solo. When it's dun 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 dun, like that's just classic. And it's this is like quintessential Europe as most people know them. But yeah, and it's a great side one closer. And I
yeah,
like how it ends as it began.
yeah, exactly. That's a great part too.
Yeah.
And another part that Joey just so great when you see the blood red sky and he really holds that note at the
Yeah.
end. It's really
Oh,
good.
I mean, his vocal performance on this album is great. Nobody ever talks about him as one of their favorite vocalists, but I mean, he's got a great voice. It's distinctive. As soon as he sings 2 or 3 words, that's Joey Tempest. You don't mistake him for anybody else.
I think it's almost the same thing. Maybe there's a lot of people that do have him as a favorite, but I think it's the same with Joe Elliott in some ways from Def Leppard. I don't hear a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, Joe Elliott is like my favorite vocalist of all time." I don't hear that too often.
No.
They always talk about the songs, and like Europe and Def Leppard are really about the songs and the albums and everything and how great they are, but not really how good of a singer both these people are. So
I think that's got something to do with, like, those two bands are kind of similar in their approach. They always are like they're like a band of brothers, and there's like the band, whereas like there's not like 1 or 2 members of the band that stand out. Now in Europe's case, because they're a one guitar band, well, Joey Tempest does play some guitar, but they're a one lead guitar band. You do hear people talk about John Norum a lot and sometimes Key, but yeah, you're right. It's more of a just, I like that band.
Yeah, exactly. And like most people in the world only know like the Final Countdown, maybe Carrie, but people mostly know that album. So maybe people don't like dig too deep into it. So that's probably one of the reasons too, that they like don't recognize how great Joey Tempest actually is. So yeah. Now the title track, "Prisoners in Paradise." I just love the beginning part where you have all these different voices. I want to be this, I want to be that, and Joey just says, I just want to be somebody," and I think that's just great. And you have this guitar riff, just super nice, melodic, and then you have the drums coming in. Then you have this really intense, heavy in some ways guitar riff that comes in, and I always felt like this lasted too short. I just wanted it to keep on going with this like heavier sound, but then it gets light again when Joey continues singing. So this is one of the songs that I just wished this was heavier, but still great melodic, catchy song. No problem at all with it, but just that part, I just wanted it to last longer with the
yeah.
I just love
and
that.
Again, mixing the heavy riff with a nice guitar melody. There's a lot of that.
Exactly. So I just wanted that to keep on going throughout the whole song because I think that's just a great melody. So, but what do you think about Prisoners in Paradise?
I like it. It's not my favorite, but the really odd thing about this is that this is the song that was chosen as the first single, at least in North America, because I can remember, like, when I started working in radio, we would get sampler discs sent by all of the labels instead of like singles. Sometimes you'd get singles, and they would have whatever genre, it doesn't matter what genre. It's like, well, here's what's new from Sony this week. And so I wasn't working in radio at this time, but when I started and I would look back at some of the older samplers, this is the only song from this album I could find was even on a sampler disc. And I remember thinking, what a strange choice for a single. That, to me, this was not the obvious choice of a single. It's a big epic song, and I understand what the band was trying to do with it, but to get out there in radio land to people that weren't necessarily fans, I don't think that was a good idea. And I don't ever remember seeing a video. And the edit version of that song cuts that intro out with all the voices. It just starts in like it just, which kind of makes sense for a radio edit, but it doesn't make sense at all to me that it even was a single. I like it. It's like an epic ballad, but I don't know. It was just one of those strange decisions that was made. But on the album, I like it. It's in a good spot. It makes sense to. I don't think this would have made sense to start the album off with, because people would have been like, "What's this? Like, what's all these voices?" But it makes sense once you're already into the album.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great song. Now the next one is not one of my favorites, but I think it's all right. Bad Blood. I think it's maybe a bit repetitive. Maybe I'm misremembering it, but I think
Bad Blood. Like it is kind of repetitive.
Yeah, I think this was the one that So, but I do like the guitar. I like that. But yeah, it's not one of my favorites. I think this really feels like an album track for me. Yeah. So, what do you think?
It's okay. It reminds me a little like a little bit of Love, and a little bit same type of song, same type of tempo. It's okay. Yeah, I mean, as it's going along now, it's like, hey, I haven't heard anything I haven't not liked that I have not liked. So it just keeps going. But yeah, this one reminds me a lot of a little bit of Love, and it kind of occupies that same spot on side two as we need this kind of party rocker type of song.
But I think the album overall has a great sequencing, because I think that there's a good mix of faster, more energetic songs. You have the slower ballady type songs. I think it's a greatly sequenced album. And the next one is a bit slower of a song, Homeland. Again, probably could have been a hit also. Just a really, really good, catchy sing-along chorus. And I do like this one quite a bit. But what do you think about Homeland?
I like it. Yeah, the verses kind of remind me of the verses of Prisoners in Paradise a little bit. But this is more of a ballad. Again, nice guitar melody. Da, 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 da. Like it's very good there. And lyrically, it reminds me of Coast to Coast from Out of This World, because it's a ballad, but it's not a love ballad per se. It's more of a general thing. No, I like it. It's again, it's another great song.
And as you mentioned, Coast to Coast, this song could probably have been on that album. I think it would have fit in really well.
I think it could have. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the next one. Got Your Mind in the Gutter. I think this is, again, picks up the pace. Just really do love that chorus. Got your mind in the gutter. Just really great. And this is a fun song. I do really enjoy it.
I like it. It's not one of my favorites. I've always found it very out of character for the band. It's almost like they're trying to write like a ZZ Top song or something, like a bluesy rock song. But like it's almost like you guys are almost too good to do songs like this. But there's nothing wrong with a fun song. It's just Europe had such a sound where it's like, every time Joey would sing, it's like, wow, he means that. And so to hear him sing more basic rock lyrics was kind of a stretch, but I like it. And I think it's in a good spot of the album.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Till My Heart Beats Down Your Door. Not one of my favorites. I think it's all right. I think it's a solid song. Yeah, I don't have too much to add to this one. What do you think?
Now, see, I kind of like this one, and this is the oddly enough, this is the only song on the album that has no. It doesn't really have any involvement from. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so the band, so Joey and Mick McKelly wrote the music, but the lyrics are by, I don't know who Bob McDonald is, but Fiona was a vocalist in her own right, and she was on Atlantic Records, and at one point she was involved with Beau Hill, so he produced a lot of her albums. But I kind of like this song. It's got a really strange keyboard sound. That like I don't.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember then the
yeah,
headphones. I'm like, oh, that's different. And it's kind of got a slow, heavy groove, like da 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 da. So I
yeah,
kind of like that, and I kind of like how it speeds up a little bit in the middle. Um, I think it's got a super catchy chorus. Could have been a single. Probably would have had to have been edited down for time a little bit, but yeah, like by now I'm just like, look, this is a winner of an album. Like there's
yeah.
been nothing on here that's been bad. Like they got, there's one more song, and it's like, wow, I'm into it. I'm going to be listening to this a lot. I think over and over again.
Yeah. Now that you were actually talking about it, it's like better than I actually remembered. So yeah, yeah, I'm more enthusiastic about it now that you talked about it. Yeah.
But to
And
me,
I
the
love
hook
that
is
in the beginning with the keyboard.
oh, that it is such a weird, and I've never heard him use that on any other song. It's got like flange on it, and it's just a very weird sound, but it fits. And it's not the whole song, but you can kind of hear it in the background. But when you first hear that, it's like that is really weird. Like it's a very aggressive, like distorted almost keyboard sound.
Yeah, yeah. The last song is my favorite. Definitely.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is just a really hard driving, heavy in some ways song. I think it's just really, really great. Girl from Lebanon just and Joey's vocal performance on this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. And I love at the ending, like how the album ends, where you go whoa, whoa, and then it just ends.
Yeah.
I love that. So yeah, and this riff is just fantastic. Just love it. Great, great song. What do you think?
I think this song is the only song on this album that could have fit on the Final Countdown. This sounds like what people expect Europe to sound like. It's really, really good. It's sort of when this song came out in 91, this was like the end of, well, at the time, it was like the end of the Cold War. The Berlin Wall had come down, and I think lyrically it was influenced by that. It definitely sounds like Scorpions had Wind of Change. It's one of those types of songs. I love this song. And I love how in the last verse, Joey kind of kicks it up a notch and sings higher, like it's time to da 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 da. Like he sings higher than he does in the. He sings the same phrasing as the earlier verses, but he just kicks it up a notch. And the chorus is anthemic and mighty, and yeah, great, perfect way to close the album.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, overall, I think this is a really, really solid album. If I were to give it a rating, it's hard. I would probably say maybe a 8. I think this is just solid.
Yeah.
All the way through. Just really good. If I were to rank the albums, I would probably say like my favorite. It's really hard because I like most of their albums, but I would probably say Wings of Tomorrow is probably my favorite.
Me too. I love Wings of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that album. I would probably say then the debut. Then probably Out of This World and The Final Countdown are amazing albums. They really are. But I've heard them so much. So I would probably say this is in the third place for me right now. Because I have not heard these songs as much. So it's refreshing. Right. It's nice to hear something different. And it still feels like it's part of that era. So I do really enjoy this. And yeah, really, really great album. So if you guys that are watching haven't like heard this album in a while, go listen to it, because it's better than you probably remember. Because I think it's just, there's nothing on here that I feel like, oh, this is terrible. They could have like cut this song.
No,
Maybe
I think it's a
else.
good length of an album too. It's 12-song album. It's long, but it's not too long. Like they didn't
Yeah.
put 15 songs on it. And if
Yeah.
anyone's curious as to, you know, we've talked a lot about the extra, like the songwriting sessions. I would recommend this anyway, because it's a good comp with this Rock the Night. But it's got a couple of single B-sides. Actually, it's got 3. So it's got 2. Sweet Love Child and Yesterday's News were both on the Best of Us, I think 1982 to 92. Sweet Love Child is a ballad. Yesterday's News is kind of like a Got Your Mind in the Gutter kind of song, I think, maybe a little bit different. But then there's one called Long Time Coming, which is really heavy, like really heavy. And Mr. Government Man is very different for them. So that gives you a little, seems to me there's one more on here too. Here Comes the Night. I think that's a ballad too. So there's other songs out there from this era. And I would love to see like Rock Candy reissue this album with all of those extra songs. Like that would be a really cool package.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if this has been reissued. I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't think it has.
I think it's the original issue on CD and vinyl and the cassette, but I don't think they reissued this like at least not many times. Maybe they reissued it in the 90s or something. I don't know, but
I strongly doubt that, because it was so, you know, the 90s was not kind to bands like this. Yeah, I got to get it on vinyl at some form or another, but it would be nice to see like, you know, maybe there has been like a music on vinyl or music on CD reissue of this, but it would have been in like the last 20 years or so. But it would be nice to see a deluxe with extra songs.
Yeah, the other Europe music on CD were like in 2013. So yeah. But I don't think they did this one. I'm not too sure, but I don't think so. So
definitely it's out there to be discovered.
I think this album is available as a reissue in these, like, I have the Heart one, these original album classics.
Yes.
I think the first 5 albums are available in that one, but I think that's about it.
So, that makes sense, because that's all the Sony ones.
Yeah. So yeah, great album, super like underrated. I feel nobody really talks about this.
No.
So
it's up to people to get the word out.
YouTube, but overall, yeah, not many. So yeah, great album.